everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I decided to do something fun and do a full face of the most expensive makeup that I have in my collection. And boy, was it fun. I say that with all sarcasm because it was a struggle today. I had a little bit of a struggle. I've been here for a minute filming because I had to fix my makeup like 20 times. Anyway, I have a lot of amazing luxury makeup in my collection, so I thought it would be fun to kind of pull it all out and see if it's actually really worth that high price point, right? And kind of tell you what I like and what I dislike about all the products that I used in today's video. And again, luxury makeup is subjective. And do I always feel like luxury makeup is 100% worth it? Absolutely not. Because 90% of the time you're paying for the name. It just is what it is, and we all know that. Makeup, though, just because it's a high price point and just because it comes from a very prestigious, expensive brand doesn't always mean it is worth the splurge. So I thought it would be fun to pull out some of my most expensive makeup that I have and do a full face. And yeah, just kind of have fun with makeup. So that's pretty much it for the intro. Everything I use in today's video, I will link down in the description box down below. Some of the products I recommend and some of them I absolutely do not. And it's going to be a fun video. So if you guys have any recommendations of any videos that you guys want me to do that's kind of like this, let me know in the comment section down below and let's go ahead and jump into it. I've been doing so much math for the last hour going through wait, I have that. Oh my gosh. Anyway, we're going to start with this primer. So this is from Sisley, and this is the double Tenseur or whatever it is. Here's the problem with this, you guys. I never use this because it was so expensive that I feel guilty when I use it, which is really stupid. You guys don't do that. Don't buy something and then not use it because it was so expensive. So really not smart, but it is one of my favorite primers. It's kind of like a jelly type. It is so amazing. It locks and loads your makeup and it just keeps it in place, and it kind of has a little bit of a tack to it. And I will say it reminds me of the Milk Makeup one, the Hydro Grip. But the thing that I will say that's better about this one from Sisley is it's not as tacky, and I feel like my makeup goes on so much better over top of the Sisley than the Milk Makeup Grip Primer. This just makes my makeup look and last better throughout the day. It's very, very expensive. If you are wanting something like that from Sisley but don't want to spend that hefty price, then I recommend this because the Sisley is a really good product. Still one of the best primers I think I've ever bought, but oh my gosh, that price tag is ridiculous. So anyway, we're going to move on to foundation. Now, I have several foundations in my collection from Tom Ford, Gucci. I have one from Sisley. This one, where is it? This one. And I've used this several times. This is the Fido Tint Nude, and I like this one. This one's really pretty, very, very light coverage, but looks really nice on the skin. But the one that I have not used on camera before that I've been really wanting to kind of share my experience with you guys is this one from Chanel. So this is the Sublimage Ultimate Radiance Generating Cream Foundation. Now, I bought this in the shade 41 Beige Dore, and here's the thing. So I would say the most expensive foundation I had in my collection was the Tom Ford Shade and Illuminate, but I don't have that one anymore because it completely changed. It got so dark. The shade that I had, which was 7.2, I believe, is 3 shades darker than it should be or was. I don't know what happened with that formulation, but it is so dark. So I went ahead and got rid of it. I don't have that foundation in my collection, but I thought it would be fun for me to use this on camera and share my experience. I've used it 4 or 5 times. I have a lot of thoughts about it. This foundation I bought after I bought the concealer. So I did review the concealer on my channel. The concealer is really nice on the skin. Very, very natural. Kind of melts into the skin. And the Sublimage line from Chanel is more of their fancy, expensive skincare line. So it's a really enriched skincare line. And that is the reason why the concealer and the foundation are so expensive. One thing that I can say that is good about the concealer is you get a lot for your money. I won't be using it in today's video because I do have others that are more expensive. This is the brush that it comes with. And I don't actually mind the brush. The brush is quite nice. So typically when I wear that foundation, I like to go over my face with some sort of like spot conceal to kind of cover up some spots, give me a little bit of coverage, then go in with the foundation. That brings me to the next product. This is from Sisley. This is the Stylo Correct. And this is a new kind of concealer corrector pen. This retails for $78, but there is only 1.7 grams worth of product. Let me say that again. This is 1.7 grams worth of product. That means that I paid $46 a gram for this. $46 a gram, okay? If you bought a full ounce of this, you would pay $1,300 for it. I have used it multiple times and I have a lot of thoughts. That's the reason why I decided to use it in today's video. Okay, so full disclosure, I put on some fake tan on my face. I was testing out a fake tan, and this fake tan in particular just really attached to my hyperpigmentation. So you can kind of see it up here. That's like fake tan. It's like gunked up in my, yeah. So every time I use fake tan on my face, I always regret it. Anyway, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to like put a little bit of here. Here's the thing about this product. I do not recommend it because it just does not really perform for the price, in my personal opinion. There are so many amazing like stick products out there that will give you a good coverage. This is not worth it. So do not waste your money on it. Like, take my advice and never buy that product. Even if it gets tempting and you're like, ooh, I want to know, is that going to look good on the under eyes? By the way, it doesn't look good on the under eyes because it's a thicker product, but it, this is shade 3, by the way, kind of has a little bit of like a waxy texture to it. And it kind of weighs a little bit heavy on the under eyes. So I don't even really recommend it for that. So I just don't really recommend the product overall, which is number one reason why I wanted to use it in this video, because, you know, I want to help save you guys some money on some of this ridiculously priced makeup that I don't really have any business buying. I also have this, which is from Peau. So because I feel like I still need a little bit more coverage before I go in with that foundation, we're going to talk about this concealer from Peau. Now this, I think, is one of the prettiest stick concealers out there. I still have been really enjoying the one from Tom Ford, which is right here. I use this so much and I'm almost out of it. So this is the one from Tom Ford. I'm almost out of it, you guys. I've used it to spot conceal. It would kind of go like this and put it all over. And I have really, really enjoyed not only the creamy texture that this has, but the coverage and the long lasting. Like, I have really enjoyed this concealer and I will be repurchasing it for that reason, because I'm almost out of it. And that tells me that I like a product. When I'm almost out of it, that means I like it. I mean, that is screwed all the way. I can't screw it up any farther. So this one from Peau now, this is a beautiful concealer, and this is their new one that they have. I'm not sure what the difference is between the original, because I do have the original. This is the original. And you guys, I just don't know what the difference is. I don't even dare say. I'm not the expert there. But I do have the new one. I'm going to go ahead and put a little bit of this along the face here. And this is in the shade Buff, I believe. Yes. And I would say that the Tom Ford is a little creamier. So this one from Peau is a little bit more of like a demi-matte almost. The one from Tom Ford blends out much creamier than this one does. And all I'm doing is giving myself a little bit of coverage so that when I go over top with the Chanel foundation, I'm not using too much of the Chanel foundation. And because the problem is that my experience with the foundation is that if I try to go in like too heavy-handed with this foundation, it doesn't look good. It's one of those that's not really one that you want to pack on. The other problem with this foundation is it is messy, just like the concealer, because it comes in this little tub. So what I like to do is use what's on the lid. And I like to dip the brush into the lid and apply. And it smells so good. This is probably, in my opinion, the most fragrant foundation from Chanel. If you're sensitive to fragrance, stay far away from this one. I personally think it smells so flippin' good. This is just not a foundation that I personally like to apply too much of because it can weigh a little heavy. It can. And I like to go over and like really push it into the skin before kind of moving on to the next section. Just to make sure that I have it even and wow, it's fragranced. I forgot how fragranced it is. Whew, it is strong, you guys. Kind of gives that healthy glow, but it's quite thick, and that's kind of why I work in sections and then like make sure that it's like pushed into the skin with a sponge. Because if I don't, it'll start getting a little bit thick and heavy in those places. You could build this to a medium coverage, but I don't like the way it looks built to a medium coverage. I like to use a minimal amount of this foundation. That's why I went in with the concealer to give me the coverage, because this foundation is so thick that I don't really think it looks that pretty built up. I don't think it looks very natural when you use too much. So I just went ahead and finished my brows and stuff off camera. Let's move on to concealer. So I've talked about the Tom Ford. I've talked about the one from Clé de Peau. Also talked about this one from Chanel, which I've used on camera. And those are probably the top more expensive ones. The other one that I have that I don't know that I've ever used on camera is this one from Sisley. So this one is $125, but you actually get 15 grams. So you get quite a bit of product in this, which makes it like $8.33 per gram. So it is cheaper than the Clé de Peau and the Tom Ford, which are both like $15 a gram, right? And so it's a little bit cheaper, but it's really pricey because it's pricey out the gate. It's 125 bucks. So that's the reason why I decided to go ahead and use it. So this I have in the shade number 4. It also has a metal massaging tip that creates an immediate cool and decongesting effect when you apply it. Day after day, the appearance of under eye bags is significantly reduced and your eyes are left looking rested and more beautiful. That's shade 4. Comes with this little brush, and I actually quite like the brush. Don't get too heavy-handed with this, so that even though like I'm applying like the smallest pressure with this because it's quite thick and I really don't want it to put out a lot, you know what I mean? But it is nice. It does have a nice cooling effect. But I'm just going to leave that there. And now I'm going to take the brush. Here's the thing. I like the brush for more detailed work, but it's really hard to blend it out with that brush because it's so small. So I'm going to put on just a little bit and apply more as I need. That's the thing with this concealer, is that you don't really want to get heavy-handed with it, but it is nice. It does have decent coverage, and I don't feel like it exaggerates texture, but my preferred way to apply it is putting a little bit here on the back of my hand and grabbing it from here like this with a brush. That's how I like to apply it. Going on directly can get a little bit dangerous because this is just not a concealer that I personally like to use too much of. It is a really nice, natural, hydrating concealer. And I would say out of the ones that I've talked about, this is probably the most similar to the one from Chanel. This one from Sisley kind of sets down on the skin a little bit better, where it still gives you the shine, but I feel like it stays in place a little bit better than the Chanel. But I would say that this and the Chanel are pretty close in the way that they apply, the way that they look, and the way that they wear. The one from Clé de Peau is a little bit more of like a soft matte. And the one from Tom Ford, it's much creamier. It's just, I've been in love with this concealer. It's so creamy. Yeah, I love it. I don't use the brush to apply the concealer. What I do like this brush for is when I'm putting on eyeshadow and I need to kind of clean it up and I need a really small kind of detailed brush, I'll go like that with a little bit of concealer and go. And it's so easy. It's like one of those really small, tiny little detailed brush, but because it's so small, it takes forever to blend out that concealer with that brush. But anyway, let's move on to contour. And I think the most expensive contour product that I have in my collection is probably the Tom Ford or the Westman Atelier face stick, which I really love this one. It's really easy to use. My dog's playing with the squeaky toy if you can hear it, but I'm almost out of this, so I have really enjoyed it. If I'm not mistaken, this one is $5 a gram. The one from Tom Ford, I think, is $6. So I could probably do either or, and they're both pretty expensive, but this is the shade Truffle from Westman Atelier. I use the Westman Atelier just because it's easy and simple. Now, I really like this one, but I've also been using the one from Makeup by Mario. And I really like that formula as well. And you get more for your money. So, you know, the Westman Atelier is good, no doubt about it. But the one from Makeup by Mario, I think, is just as good. But for some reason, my makeup is not liking it. Look, it's like removing that foundation. No, don't do it. You see how... That looks like a hot mess. What in the heck happened? So, all right, that foundation did not agree with that at all. I have a lot of thoughts about this foundation. I just don't like it. It's just quite thick and kind of hard to work with, and this is one of those reasons why I don't like it. I don't remember if it did this the last time. I just know that I've never really liked the way that my makeup looks throughout the day. This Westman Atelier stick is so creamy. The formula is so good that I've never, ever had an issue with any of the foundations that I've ever paired it with. I mean, I've almost used the entire stick. Like, that's all I have left. So that means I've used a lot of it. And I've never had this issue. So it has to be the foundation. And that's a bummer. Moving on to blushes, I've kind of went through my collection, and I think the most expensive blushes that I have in my collection are from Chantecaille, and I have these two right here. So these are their new spring summer blushes. They're called the Wild Meadow blushes. They retail for $75, and you get 4 grams. And I have both of the shades. This one is Anemone. It's a really pretty kind of poppy pink color, and they're very pigmented, and you can kind of see it has a little bit of a shine. And this one right here is Apple Blossom, and it is gorgeous. They're so pretty. These blushes are beautiful. I think I'm going to put on Apple Blossom. I'm going to use this brush from BK Beauty. See how much brush picks up? And I'm using a smaller brush so that I have control, because I've used my big brush that I love. This is the one from BK Beauty. It's from the Angie Hot and Flashy collection. But this brush picks up a lot, and I lose control with it. So I always grab a smaller brush to apply this and kind of like work in like small sections because it's so pigmented, but it is a beautiful blush. We're gonna move on to bronzer. And of course, the most expensive bronzer I have in my collection, I believe, is the one from Hermes. And this one is in the shade 3 Sahara. I'm just gonna like tap it over here and kind of give me some color to the face. This is a very soft, very buttery bronzer. This shade might be a little bit too light for me right now. I don't know that it's really showing up. So maybe I'm gonna grab the darker shade that I have, which is shade 4 Sienne, which is a little bit darker, a little bit more on the red side, a lot of the extra, and then yeah, it's just like everything I'm putting over top of that foundation just does not look very good. I need to add some translucent setting powder, and I'm gonna go ahead and just use the one that I know and love because I really need to kind of buff out some of these edges, and I really don't want to do it with a powder that I'm not like familiar with. So I'm gonna grab some of my Hourglass translucent setting powder. It is a patchy mess, you guys. Like this foundation, yeah, nothing is looking good over top of this foundation. Like, I feel like I'm gonna have to fix like all of this because if I turn my head and zoom in, can you guys see how patchy that is right there? I'm hoping that it's showing up, but like it's so patchy right there. It's also really patchy right there. Everything that I'm putting over top of it, whether it's the Westman Atelier stick or the powder bronzer, whatever it is, it's just getting really patchy and disgusting. Nothing is worse than patchy makeup and having to fix it. It's a pain in the butt. I'm wondering if I can fix this with some concealer. All we can do is try, right? And here's the thing. This is the irony in this entire situation, is that I am putting on the most expensive makeup I have in my collection and I'm having this much struggle. If that doesn't speak volumes, I don't know what will. Like that in what world makes sense, right? I've used this bronzer so many times and it's a beautiful bronzer. So I mean, again, the contour didn't work very good over top of it. I mean, the blush worked okay because I really took my time, used a smaller brush, had more control. Let's move on to finishing powder. So I have this from Sisley. This is called the Blur Expert. It is $110 and you get 11 grams worth of product. It's made in Italy and I have it in the shade. I would assume that I bought it in beige. It doesn't tell me, but there's only 2 shades, either beige or light, and I'm pretty sure I bought it in beige. And I have used this powder, and I do like it. Exceptionally fine, luminous matte perfecting powder that creates the look of perfect skin with one stroke. And I would say that that's a pretty good description. It has no dryness to it. So it goes on and kind of mattifies, but it still gives your skin a very nice luminosity. Of course, many of you guys know I love my Charlotte Tilbury. It is beautiful. And I also really like this one from Westman Atelier. This is the Vital Skin Pressed. $75 for 5 grams. Crazy enough, I thought this one from Sisley was the most expensive, but if you do the overall math, the Westman Atelier is more money per gram. It is what it is. This is beautiful packaging. But I would tell you, these are very similar. This one from Westman Atelier, it definitely has that silky smooth texture to it, but also has that luminous matte. And so does the Sisley. They're very, very similar. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do Westman Atelier on one side and Sisley on the other. So I'm going to use one side of the brush and I'm going to go into the Sisley powder like this. And the trick with this one is to just press it over top of the areas that you're wanting to kind of blur. Not really doing this with it, but pressing it. But it looks beautiful. For those that want this look, but maybe the Charlotte Tilbury is a little too drying, maybe the Charlotte Tilbury emphasizes your wrinkles or your texture, you might really like the one from Westman Atelier or Sisley because they are beautiful powders. They really are. I'm going to use the other side and I'm going to go into the Westman Atelier. And this one I have in shade Cream, or Creme, probably pronounced Creme with all this fancy stuff. Doing the same technique, kind of pressing it over top of the concealer. Can't really decide which one I think looks better, especially over this hot mess of the foundation that I got. Oh, my forehead looks redonkulous, you guys. Oh, I can't stand the way that looks. It is awful. I think they're both very similar and really pretty on the skin. I don't know that I like one more than the other. They both look really pretty. They're both really good powders. They are. And I like them both equally. So let's move on to highlighter. This is probably one of the more expensive highlighters that I have in my collection, but I'm obsessed with it. It's such a gorgeous highlighter and I don't regret a thing. So this is the Hermes 01 Permabrass highlighter and it is stunning. Now the one from LYS, which I'm going to put this picture of it right up here on the screen, that one is very similar to this. Wanting something that's really similar to how beautiful this is, but don't want to spend that hefty price tag. That one I personally believe is the closest that I've ever gotten to how beautiful this highlighter really is. It's really natural on the skin and it's not overwhelming. So a lot of our highlighters, you just look like you have this like really ridiculous streak on your face, right? Or it just doesn't look natural. This one looks natural, and that's the reason why it's one of my favorites. Kind of swirl like this, tap off. Oh, it's such a beautiful highlighter, you guys. Oh my gosh, one of the best. Seriously, one of the best. Just super natural, not overwhelming, but gorgeous. Like Hermes got it right when it comes to that highlighter. It's stunning. So you can kind of see that it's really, it has a finely milled texture to it as I build it. And it has the tiniest amount of glitter, but like in the best way. It's gorgeous. Definitely one of those super expensive purchases that I have never regretted. Face is done. Let's move on to the eyes. And I've went through several of my palettes and I've of course I have some from Natasha Denona, Pat McGrath, some of these high-end brands, Dior, Chanel. When I did the math, the Beyond Beige from Surratt Beauty is still probably one of the most expensive palettes that I have in my collection because this palette retails for $98, but you only get 1.7 grams worth of product, which makes this palette $58 a gram. And that is very, very expensive. However, this is one of my favorite palettes of all time. And I've always said this, if I lost this palette, I would absolutely replace it. The problem is it never comes back into stock. I don't know why, but this is one of those palettes that once it comes back into stock and people are alerted to the stock, it's gone again. So it's sold out currently right now as I'm filming this on the Beautylish website. But if this is a palette that you're interested in, I would recommend putting in your email so that you can be notified because this palette comes into stock and it's gone again, comes back and it's gone again. The other thing that I do like about it is, for example, like this shade right here, you can see I've almost hit pan on that shade. And the nice thing is I can just replace this shade without having to buy the entire palette. So these are just little refills and I do like that about this palette. So I'm going to first start with eyeliner. I'm going to use this one from Wayne Goss. This one is in the shade Precious Opal. It's kind of a dark chocolatey brown. I have Lashify on, so I'm going to kind of try to work around my eyelashes, but I'm going to go here at the outer corner and I'm going to kind of go like where my pupil is out. So if I'm looking straight ahead, I'm going to start about like right here and go like right around the lash line. I'm just going to kind of draw like a straight line. So I'm going to stop there. I like to use my lower lash line as a guide, and I kind of blink like that. I'm also going to bring a little bit of this out here. And then I'm going to connect these two. But now I'm going to soften it. So I'm going to take a really small brush, detailed brush, and I'm going to kind of carve and like blend that line out. With the same brush, I'm going to go into this dark color, go over top of the liner just to kind of set the liner in place. And I'm going to go into the shade first. I'm going to go right at the crease, kind of build that. So now I'm going to go into this shade, which is one of my favorite shades in this palette. And I'm going to put that right over top. I am going to switch to a smaller brush, and I'm going to go right over top with that same shade here on this outer corner and kind of blend it. Eyeliner that I got down, this like wing liner. I'm going to also bring that on the lower lash line. Now I'm going to grab the Smith 253. I'm going to go into this light color right here. I'm going to grab the smallest amount of this Clay de Peau, like go like this. If my camera will focus on it, just grab a little bit like that. I'm going to use what's on this brush to kind of clean this line up a little bit. See how that just kind of cleaned it up and made it look a lot better there on that outer corner. We're going to move on to mascara, and this one is almost dried up, but I'm going to continue to use it. This is from Sisley. This is the So Intense, #1 So Intense, and it has this cool little comb. I have really enjoyed this mascara. I'm almost out of it, and I don't plan on repurchasing it, but it is a really good, dependable mascara. I'm going to replace my lashes anyways, so I'm going to put a little bit here on the tips. It's time to get a new set. I've had these on for like almost 2 weeks. Time to put a new set of lashes on. But see how much more dramatic adding a little bit of mascara to those Lashify lashes. I went through my collection and I found the fanciest and probably the more expensive lippies that I have in my collection. They're around the same price as Tom Ford, a tiny bit more, but super fancy. And they're beautiful, and I treasure them. They're from Jimmy Choo. This is what they look like. I have 2 shades, and this is, I mean, look at that luxurious. This is really beautiful. The little gold stripe that says Jimmy Choo right there. It's just gorgeous. Like the whole presentation, much better than the Tom Ford lipsticks. Just have to say it. Don't get me wrong. Tom Ford has really beautiful lipsticks, okay? And they're good quality lipsticks. I have a lot of Tom Ford in my collection. I do. But none of them have the presentation that the Jimmy Choo does. They're just gorgeous. 2 shades. This one is Tender Pink, and this is Daring Pink. And they are both so beautiful. Like, I love the color of these lipsticks. Oh, let me show you the embossing. Check out the embossing. Right? They are stunning. How beautiful. I mean, right? Look how beautiful that is. It's a work of art. This one is Tender Pink. So comfortable. And I've found that they're very long wearing. and gorgeous. Now we're going to put on Daring Pink, which is a little lighter. Oh, I love that color. That concludes the full face of the most expensive makeup I own. Boy, do I have a lot of thoughts. Let's go ahead and jump into it. As I went through many of the products in today's video, I talked about alternatives. I kind of talked about what I really like about them, what I don't. But I have to say the least favorite product, of course, is this foundation. I just do not like this foundation. I've tried it multiple ways and it's just not my favorite. It's just too thick. And at the end of the day, I do think that my overall makeup turned out good, but it was a struggle to get it there. And I just cannot recommend that foundation on any level. The concealer and all the other products that I used in today's video, they have good and bad qualities. Not all the makeup that I use today is fully worth the money, right? There's certain products that we just splurge and fall in love with, but are they fully worth it? Are they fully necessary? No, they're really not. There's a lot of great affordable products out on the market. And a lot of these products, of course, you're paying for the name. At the end of the day, you're paying for the brand's name. Most of these products, you're paying for the brand's name. But if you enjoy luxury makeup like I do, you kind of overlook certain things. I do think that this was a really fun video. If you guys have any suggestions or recommendations on videos that you guys want to see in the future, definitely sound off down below and let me know. Also, if you guys have the Sublimage foundation and it's your favorite, share with us in the comment section down below, because I always like having differences of opinion. Just because I don't like something doesn't mean that somebody else out there doesn't. And I always feel like it's important for audience to hear both sides, because with complexion products, there's so many factors that go into it. Skin type, what you need out of it, how much coverage, all of that. There's so many things. It's a very complex situation. So we're all different and we all need something different from our complexion products. So definitely let us know. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me in today's video. I hope you guys all have a wonderful day, and I will see you guys all in my next video. Love you. Bye.